Okay, good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. on Monday, May 20th, 2024, and I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Sturgis Common Council. And our first item is approval of the agenda. I would like to mention that Councillor Kopp had requested a number of items be added to today's agenda. I believe it was 4 items to be exact. Those 4 items were items that were already voted on and passed, and in most cases, they were already acted or have already been acted upon by now. So since those items were from a previous session, and no information was given regarding the purpose and objective for adding those items to tonight's agenda, other than to, I believe, make sure that council is all on the same page regarding them. There was nothing that staff could prepare, and there was nothing that other council members could prepare for or anticipate. So therefore, those items weren't added to this evening's agenda. But what I will do is schedule a special meeting either for later this week or next week so that all of those items can be addressed and get the attention that this council wants them to get. So just want to put that out there. So we will be having a special meeting sometime in the near future. All right. And so with that being said, is there a motion on the agenda?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would motion to approve the agenda, but delay item 11.7. Our finance manager has had a family emergency, and so discussing the annual report, I would like to wait until he's here. So I'd like to move 11.7 to our next meeting when he can attend.
Okay, so you'd like to pull that from this. Okay. So that was a motion to approve the agenda, removing item 11.7, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, that is a first by Kevin and a second by Tony. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Oh, sorry, I should probably have mentioned that Preston is joining via the phone. And those opposed with a no? Okay, the agenda is passed, so if we can please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up we have announcements and praise. And so I would like to take a moment to praise our Heavenly Father. If you care to join in, please do so. Heavenly Father, blessed be your name. Thank you for the countless blessings you bestow on us. Thank you for sending us your Spirit to guide us and fill us with faith, courage, and love. Open our hearts to receive the gifts of your Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, and then I do have a list of announcements. Let me see. So first off, I want to thank the Public Works Department for all their hard work and extra efforts during the citywide cleanup week. Our cleanup weeks are definitely one of those perks that make living in Sturgis so great. Also, city offices will be closed next Monday in observance of the Memorial Day holiday on May 27th. Those closures do also include the community center, the Rubble site, and the library. And then also the library will be closed on Saturday in observance of the full holiday weekend. Then I have next Tuesday, because of the holiday, next Tuesday will be a double day for trash pickup. Anyone who normally gets picked up on Monday will be picked up on Tuesday. Then another reminder that this week is EMS week, so I believe you can check out the website and Facebook for a list of all the events happening this week for that. Also, our thoughts and prayers go out to our finance officer, Adam, his wife, and his family. They've been having to deal with some medical things right now, so just want to let them know that they are in our thoughts and prayers. And also, a big thanks to all who have supported Chief, the dog at the shelter, everyone who has supported him through their generous donations. So he's on the mend, slowly but surely, and thanks to everyone's generous help. So I believe that's all I have. Does anyone else on council have any announcements or praise? Go ahead, Jim.
Madam Mayor, because it's Sturgis Ambulance and EMS Week, as you indicated, Joanne from the City Hall office invited my wife and me to make sure we gave blood today. So I didn't get to see her there, but I was later than she was. But we went up and gave blood, and I'm impressed with the fire department and everybody that worked so hard. But it is the battle of the badges, and so if you didn't get the final score, in fact, I don't know what the final score exactly is, but the fire department and the police department were in a squeaker when we left. So I don't know who won, but hopefully we'll get a result. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Anyone else on council? Any announcements or praise? How about anyone from the public? Have any announcements or praise? Okay. Then moving on, next we have our non-agenda matters. And so in this section, we invite the public to come forward with any non-agenda items that they'd like to bring before council. And no action will be taken on anything brought forward during this section, but it could possibly be for a future meeting or future discussion. If you have anything, please come forward to the microphone and state your name. And if you're a resident of Sturgis, please keep your comments respectful and to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone from council that has any non-agenda items? Anyone from the public with any non-agenda items? Okay. Great, then moving on, we have item 6, which is old business. So 6.1 was tabled from the May 6th meeting, and that is the confirmation of continuation of the stipend until September 3rd. With that, I do want to point out in the report, it mentions at the end, so that team is down to 3 individuals. It is currently the Public Works Director and the Director of Administrative Services. So continuing that stipend would be just still that $861 per pay period, and just for those 3 individuals. Are there any questions or comments?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
now that we've made adjustments to this this transition team, is there an associated organizational chart that tells not just council, but tells the public and most importantly, our employees, the chain of command.
Yes, there is. And so I was planning on passing that out during executive session for council to get eyes on it before it goes out to city staff.
And the public then as well.
Yeah, it'll be public.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there a motion on the continuation of that stipend for those 3 individuals?
A motion to approve.
That is a first by Tony and a second by Jim to approve the continuation of the stipend. Any more discussion from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Come on up, Bonnie.
Bonnie Alberts. I don't know who prepared this staff report, but I just want to say how concise and clear it is. This is nicely done to go back and track where we've been and how we got to this point. And I just want to say that it's whoever did it well. This is a contingent piece of it where you go back and look at the previous meetings. And one of the things I want to say again is that we keep saying that the citizens voted to eliminate the city manager and employ a city administrator. And again, if you look at that ballot, there was never anything said about the city administrator. So I don't know what exploration has been done in your work sessions on forms of government, but we've not heard that. We keep hearing it referred to, but that has never been a formal action taken. So I just wanted to turn the light on that.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, any other questions on this item from the public? Okay, with the first and second on the floor, all those in favor of approving the continuation of the stipend, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
And those opposed with a no. Okay. Next up, we have the mayor's report. We will have Lisa come up, a lot of payroll, and then some insurance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The mayor asked me just to give you the update on the various payroll changes that we have. Paul Whitcraft, a front desk attendant, as well as several umpires for our adult recreation softball league. And then we have several seasonal employees that will be returning and one new one in our Public Works Department to take care of all the tasks that they need them to do. Cody Cobb is an advanced EMT. He just got that certification, so this is just changing his pay because of the higher certification. And then Ashley Perez Franco is a paramedic who I just had incorrectly noted the payroll wrong in the salary resolution, so that is a correction. And then we have 3 new members of our Sturgis Police Department Reserve Force that were just sworn in, so this is adding them to your minutes for compensation or workers' compensation and liability coverages. We are required to provide that by law, so in the minutes to just notate and provide those services. So
Does anyone have any questions for Lisa? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Next up, we have the consent agenda. On that, we just have a few items. We have minutes, authorization to sign a contract for opening ceremonies, and then setting a public hearing. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone from council would like to see removed for further discussion? Is there anything on the consent agenda that the public would like to see removed for further discussion? Yes, Bonnie.
That third one, I don't know that it necessarily needs to be removed for further discussion, but I would just like to ask that the staff report, the information that we had attached to that simply said that the planning commission denied it. And there really was no justification or anything. I think if you're going to be prepared to make a decision about that next time around, that I would like to call for more information about what the planning was thinking when they said no.
Sure. And that should be all in their minutes, but I don't believe their minutes get approved until their next meeting. Thank you.
I can touch
Oh.
base on that. During the
Well-
meeting, the reason they declined it was the fact of the short Airbnb, the short stay. That was the main reason they declined it. They didn't have a problem with the full-time residents being out there, but they said with the short time coming and going, they felt that wasn't appropriate for the area out there, so.
Thank you, Tony.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I was asked by a member of the public about 8.2, so can we remove that just so that we have a
Sure
little
thing.
discussion on that?
Okay. All right. Is that the only item looking to be removed? Okay. Is there a motion then for the consent agenda minus that 8.2?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would move to approve the consent agenda minus 8.2.
Okay, that is a first by Kevin,
Second.
second by Jesse. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no? Okay. Then we will go on to item 8.2. And that is the consideration to authorize the mayor to sign the opening ceremonies contract with Live It Up Studios LLC. Councilor Forrester, do you know what questions you had about that?
I was more interested in somebody just presenting what exactly we're doing there so that the members in the audience and online can understand what we're doing for opening ceremonies.
Sure, and Tammy is not here this evening. Lisa, do you have any details? I believe this is, I don't know what kind of performance you would call it.
So the report talks about there being a parade and speakers followed by the performance. It's a 30-minute performance called the All American Thrill Show, being done by Live It Up Studios out of Rapid City. It consists of various performances like aerialists, acrobatics, fire performance, and other circus-style performances. And they're going to come out and do a trial run, I believe, as part of a Music on Main, and just to test the apparatus and that kind of stuff. But beyond that, I don't know much more.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't really sure how to describe it, but I guess it's right in the report. Acrobatics, circus-style performance. Do you think that's enough detail?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Or discussion? Is there a motion?
Make a motion that the council allow you the opportunity to sign that petition, sign that contract.
Okay, that is a first by Jim to approve.
Second.
And second by Mike. Any further discussion? Anything else from the public? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no. Okay. Next up, we have approval of the claims. And I believe there was part, just the credit card part that wasn't detailed when the agenda was first put out there, but everything is out there now. Is there any questions or comments on the claims? Sure, Nick. Anyone else have any questions while Nick is looking?
On page page 17. The total special sales tax for 745691. What did that entail? And I understand Adam's not here, but
And I'm sorry, Tony, can you repeat what you were looking at?
it was on page 17. The total special sales tax for $7,456.91. And there wasn't an explanation under it, so I was just curious what it was.
Isn't that just the total of all of those items?
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yep,
Well, I had a
yep.
question from
Sorry,
from
yeah.
people, so.
Oh, yep, it looks like it's just the total of all of those different items.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
under sponsorship, we have a $21,400 charge. I believe that we paid that in a special meeting last week. Is that proper?
And what page is that on? Page 6?
Page 6.
I'm not seeing that on my page
It's
6.
on page 7.
Oh, page
It's on
7.
7.
Okay.
Well, it's six
Oh, is
on
that why
one line.
it's underlined? Does anyone know why that is underlined? Is that the same one that we paid
Yeah,
at
Joe.
the?
I
It
talked
is,
to Joe.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Perfect, so, and that's why it was pointed out. So that was in fact the one. So then, the total claims will be less that amount? Is that correct? When we're approving them?
Well, Joanne said that it was paid after the special meeting, and they put it on here to show that it was paid since there wasn't a claim since that special meeting.
But there was claims on that meeting.
Right, so should this total be less that? I believe that it would be, with Adam being out. If there's a motion to approve the claims, then I would say less that amount, since the total would come with that. That would be included in the total. I mean, I don't have a calculator.
I just had a quick question on, I mean, it's a small amount, but I was just curious. There's a $350 charge on the MasterCard for Indeed under Lance. I just figured that Lisa did all of like the job stuff. Okay, thank you. Page 2 of the MasterCard. Page 2 of the MasterCard,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, if we subtract that 20,400 from these claims, That would be-
394,416.60.
yep, 394,416.60, correct, Tony. Are there any other questions about the claims?
Can I just ask quickly, I hear what you said to Tony, that the special sales tax of 7,456 is the sum of those numbers.
Perhaps you could come to the microphone.
Perhaps I could. But I thought, quick question I could do from here. What are those?
Would you please come to the microphone so that the public can hear you that's online?
Mine was
Okay.
yelling, Mark.
All right. Thank you for coming up, Bonnie. It's hard for people that are at home to hear on Facebook. I know.
I know, but this was
I
a question
know.
that's already been asked. I understand that's the sum of those, but what are they? What is special sales tax?
Does someone want to, Lisa, are you able to explain? Hold on. What page was that on?
I think I can make that if you.
It's on 17.
Go ahead, Counselor Forrester, you said you wanted
That's
to
payments
answer.
out of our Triple B fund, I believe, and those funds were used to pay these liabilities. So it's additional bed, booze, What's the last B?
So these,
Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, the chamber had those event sponsorship funding requests that they process. You guys budget about $20,000 out of the special sales tax fund that the chamber goes and allocates for events. You've had 3 more come in. One is to Meade County Fair. One is for the that looks like there's actually a duplicate there. So there should be only one claim for the Meade County Fair, and then the other one should be to the chamber for the Bronco. The Bronco rally, and then the other ones are utilities that are following up on the either Rally Point or the Marketplace. So I would recommend you remove the one to Meade County 4-H.
So one of the $2,000 ones?
okay, so one of those is a duplicate? Okay,
Okay.
okay, that makes sense now. Thank you.
Sure thing. So then we're gonna take another 2,000 off of our total claims. So that'll bring them to $392,416.60. Does that make sense to everybody? Any other questions on the claims? Is there a motion on the claims? Okay, that is a first by Jim and a second by Nick to approve the claims. Any further discussion? Anything from the public? Okay, since these are bills, we'll go ahead and roll call this. Tony,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Okay, and, oh, thank you. Preston.
Yes.
All right, just had to make it tricky for me, Preston, thanks. All right, so those are paid. Up next, we have our public hearings. We have 6 of these public hearings are approvals of retail malt beverage or wine and cider licenses. So 10.1 through 10.6. I would entertain a motion that groups all of those together if someone is so inclined. But before that, if anyone has any questions or comments on any of those, 10.1 through 10.6.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
are all 6 of those, is everybody in good standing? Property taxes are paid, don't owe anything to the city?
As far as I heard on all of those, they were all good. Any questions, comments from the public? 10.1 through 10.6. Would anyone like to make a motion grouping those?
Madam, excuse me, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I
Mike.
have a concern about all these new licenses being public buildings, some of them, the majority of them on Main Street. Do we need to have that many locations that have alcoholic beverage sales? And these licenses are for year-round. They're not specials.
Yep, well, those licenses would be year-round, regardless of if the place is actually open year-round, but all of these I believe, are.
I think there's only one that's year-round. That's 10.5.
I believe Dixon is supposed to be year-round now. And then the other two are that transfer from that A&B Pizza, Oyster Bay. I guess I'm not sure what that business is that's going in there. I thought it was a year-round one, but I guess I'm not positive on that.
I think A and B was a year-round business.
Yeah, A&B
but
was, but they
I-
sold it, and so I'm not sure.
I think the purchaser is going to be short-term.
Okay. Well, I guess that's something for council to consider. Any questions or comments from the public?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd move to approve 10.1 through 10.6 with the understanding that all are in good standing with the city of Sturgis.
Okay, that is a first by Kevin to approve items 10.1 through 10.6.
I'll second.
That is a second by Ruth. Any further discussion from the public? Okay, all those in favor of approving 10.1 through 10.6, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those
Abstain.
okay, those opposed with a no?
No, with the exception of 10.5.
Mike, the motion was for all of them, so do you just want to say no to?
I'll say no to them all then.
Okay. So we had one no, one abstention, and then that would be 6 yeses. So those are all approved. On to 10.7, and this one is the renewal of the retail on-off sale malt beverage licenses for 2024 through 2025. Any questions, comments? Questions or comments from the public? And Chief, all of these were good as far, okay. No changes, no issues with any of them. Is there a motion on 10.7? Okay, that is a first by Jim
Second.
and a second by Jesse to approve the renewals for 2024, 2025. Any further discussion from the public? You have a question, Bonnie?
I just am looking for a total. How many total?
How many total are being renewed
No, of those licenses.
of all within the city? I believe we have 39. Is that correct, without Adam being here?
36 plus the new ones.
There's
Okay, so
42
then
in this
30.
list.
So I know that's not right. Because our ordinance, and that's why we're having the discussion later, only says 40 are allowed. Does any staff have the exact? So is it that there are duplicate businesses? And 39 was the number that I believe there was too, so I'm not sure why this looks like 42. Okay. So Bonnie, we are at 39. And that's why we're having the discussion later. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. All right, we had a first and a second on the floor to approve the renewals of the malt beverage and wine licenses. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no. Okay, those pass. On to item 10.8. This one is to approve an SEL for the Iron Horse Saloon for the Steel Pony Campground, and that would be during rally from August 2nd through August 10th, 2024. Are there any questions or comments on that? Questions or comments from the public?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve.
Okay, that is a first by Mike. Second by Jim. Any further discussion from the public? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no. All right, and that is approved as well. Okay, that brings us on to our reports. Item 11.1 is public discussion on the proposal that was presented by AMA Pro on May 14th to the community. And I believe included in the agenda packet was all information that was handed out or given by AMA Pro at that forum. So, any comments? This is open for discussion, so if anyone from council has questions, comments, concerns, I believe that Mr. Gray from AMA Pro is here this evening too, so if anyone does have any questions, he is here to answer them.
I've got a question on the, in there, under the residuals section. It says something, and I don't have it printed out in front of me, but something along the lines of broadcast coverage of the event will provide a major increase in exposure for the city's existing and future rally sponsorships. For bearing the upfront expense liability for the event, AFT shall be paid a residual for the annual increases in the sponsorship amounts received by the city from existing rally sponsors. So all of our rally sponsors, any increase.
No, I'll give you an example. We've spoken on this a couple times. And good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us back again, me back again. Closing my house, I think, next week. So all is good. But no, it's great to be here. I love the town, especially when it's quiet like this. So yeah, one example is, say, Anheuser-Busch comes in, it's a prime example. Anheuser-Busch is one of your sponsors, and they see that it's going to be on Fox Network, big TV show, and they say, wow, I see the value of this add-on to the rally. You're going to have your rally deal. Rally deal's a rally deal. That's your deal. If they say, I like this addition, which, is there some crossover? Yeah, there's a little bit of crossover on we're enhancing the entire rally. So if they say in 2025, if there's a downfall, I mean, none of this discussion even comes into discussion. If we hit it out of the park, get going, make money on this right out of the gate, we don't even have this discussion. Say we lose 10 grand, okay? If Budweiser, for example, came back next year and said, okay, well, that's awesome. They're on Fox Network. They're on Fox Network in 2025. Instead of the 500 grand, we're going to give you 700 grand. And so out of that, there'd be a small percentage that would come to us, as discussed, on the residuals of that for the increase because of the coverage we're putting on Fox Network and what we're bringing in. And we're paying for all the production. We're paying all the expenses. That's where that comes from.
How are we determining if their increase in sponsorship was a result of the race?
Probably from the discussion you have from them, or I had from them, or we've had from them. I mean, they specifically have mentioned it. We've already had a meeting with them. That's why I brought up that example. So, again, I hope we don't have these discussions, but again, our goal, especially with you know, we're just trying to get through year one. Will there be a shortfall? I don't know the answer to that yet. People are, you know, waiting to press go tomorrow morning on sponsorship and revenue and sales for this event. Going into the 85th, getting one event under our belt, making sure the city and all the city people and all the stakeholders are happy with this event. I think, you know, next year is going to be way bigger, and sponsorship's going to be a lot easier when we're starting sales for 25 in August and not asking for money in second quarter. So again, I don't say gray area. I don't like gray area. I like black and white. But I think there are some crossovers here, and I can't fully answer your question tonight exactly how that works. I just know the AB question came up because, again, you know, I believe the city had a discussion with them. They wanted to hear from us, hey, what's this cool race? What are you adding? Fox Network, it kind of got their, and I'll take that a second further, got them very interested. Even when we met with them, exposure, we'd be interested in doing something with the broadcast, something with the events. And they asked, have you done anything as a series before with a beer company? Which New Belgium Brewing's been our beer company sponsor of ours before. I said, yes, okay, so you'd be interested in entertaining that? I said, yeah. And then within that, you guys, that's what Lance and I were talking about too. There's residuals that you guys are going to get because of that for the series deal, if that comes to fruition this year or next year or whatever. So, I mean, there's kind of multi-layers to this.
So yeah, my only concern would be if we have an existing sponsor that really has nothing to do with the race, that increases their sponsorship for whatever reason beyond the race.
Right.
That, you know, are we obligated to share those residuals as well? Does that make sense?
Yes, and I think it's going to have to be. I don't think that's all been ironed out right at the moment, but I think it's on a case by case basis. You know, and you know, again, I have to work with Lance and the city on that and the sponsorships. Those are your people, and I don't know. I think the same thing goes on our side too. You know, I do have one sponsor who has a lot of chips and salsa and tortillas. It's mentioned. They're interested in your deal too. So on our deal, if we can get that and bring that in, you know, the residuals come back to us. So I think it's kind of working hand in hand, you know, on that deal. And I think only Gene's just trying to say, if we're protecting ourselves from making the investment, having our owners and board backing us on this event. So now we flipped it 180 where we're taking all the risk. We just want to make sure that we can cover any losses that we have. That's all, you know. And if you know, we're going to be open and transparent with the council and everybody on this. So, you know, understand where your concern's coming from. If another partner's coming in and it has nothing really to do with the race, then, you know, should that come out of that, those residuals coming out of that bucket to help the offset? Probably not, but I don't make that decision.
Jesse, and I think a lot of that would come down to a lot of our sponsors are already signed on for this year, and a lot of them have multiple year contracts. And so if on top of what they already have with us, then they asked for more, it would probably come from that. You got a question, Tony?
Yeah. Kudos to you and your crew for the second proposal. I'll give you guys credit
Thank
for
you.
that. Awesome
Thank you.
job.
Because they did a lot
My
of
only
work.
question is on letter F, the shared expenses. All expenses related to the event, whether paid by the AFTE or city, including without limitations. Can you give an example or a reasoning or what that entails, letter F? Because when people seeing the city including and possibly sending money, and we're not supposed to be spending money, can you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, and again, speaking with Lance and some other folks, we can clear that up. I mean, the goal and the overall understanding is the city's not writing any checks. We're writing all the checks. So if we need to clean up that sentence to you know, make sure we're clear on that, you know, we you know, our goal is, I mean, our goal, period, even Lance and I were talking today, is there is no deficit write-off. We're not, these are all moot discussions. But if there is 10 grand we're short, then within that, we would use, and the only time there would be any checks writing or say we owe you a percentage because you brought in AB, and that could be a nice sizable check of percentages to you guys. We would take that money, say we owe you, I think we came today, if we got a serious deal for whatever, we did some hypotheticals, and we were owed 15 grand. Say we're short 10 grand. Well, we just wouldn't send you that 15 grand. We'd keep 10 of that 15. That covers that shortfall. You're not out any checks, and the 5 grand comes to your coffers. But yes, if we need to clear that up so it's simple and more clean, that, you know, I think we're writing that because we are a co-host agreement, and eventually as we get into this down the road, we're a co-host and we're kind of sharing in it, but it specifically says in there many places, per the event, you write no checks.
Like I said, the person I talked to seen shared expense. And red
Got it.
flag, so,
Understood.
Thank you.
We'll clean that up.
okay.
Thanks, Tony. Anyone from the public have any comments or questions while Mr. Gray is here during this discussion? All right. Well, this is quite different from the last we had seen. And so to state again what Mr. Gray said, this will not be costing the city of Sturgis. We will not be writing a check to them. So, very different. Go ahead, Jim.
Cameron, thank you for coming. I will tell you that the AFT did a fine job, that presentation. I thought, though I would love to have seen more Sturgis residents there.
Yes.
Those that were there participated and asked questions, and you answered them. There's little risk for us. The morning after, I made a trip downtown and around businesses and just visited with people and asked their opinion. I didn't get any. I got 3 that were against it. I felt like even though they were against it, they really didn't have any reasons other than they didn't want to race. The others were excited as I was. I'm involved in rodeo, but I want to tell you, I want to be out. I want to be on the streets when that thing runs, and I think that'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to that, and I think we have a lot to gain with little risk. I got a call this afternoon, one of 3 phone calls that I got, people that were saying, please facilitate this, make sure that it happens. And so I strongly recommend, Mike Bashan brought it up when I was here in the audience before I got on the council, and I saw his excitement, and that was even when we thought we had a cost in it. But now, without any risk, I think this is an exciting race and something that'll make a difference to our rally in the future. So I'm very much in favor.
Thank you, Jim. And yeah, I think that we know the mistakes we made and have had some meetings today. The communications and the details, both from our side and, from others, was kind of the main issue. And I think we've addressed that. And again, I think that we're putting our 2 feet forward with all of our best team, saying we're here fighting for this because why? Because this is the only opportunity. I've been in racing since 1995. It was the first race I've been on, and even those shows were on network TV, and those were the biggest superbike races in America. And for me personally, since 1995, this is my first shot at Fox Network, at a network TV deal. So it is that big of a deal, and it's worth fighting for, coming through and actually telling the history, not only of the racing where this rally was starting on, all the people that started the racing back in the days, doing something with your historic half mile out there, and bringing this whole piece of racing back to the rallies, And we want to be at least intrusive as we can. We're on Sunday. It's kind of like a made-for-TV type show, and we've got a cool new track that's going to be tight and twisty, bar banging. And talking to Rick today, we want to make it sure it's clean and beautiful and presentable, and have some really good jumbotrons and some seating areas, and where everybody can come down and enjoy. So I'm excited. I thank everybody for having open minds, and especially all the citizens and businesses that came out and that I've met with, trying to tell our story. It's like we're not trying to come in here and take anything. We're trying to come here and give everything. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, discussion? And so this item was just discussion on that. I believe later on in the meeting, we do have a spot for consideration of that, where action will be taken. Okay, not seeing anyone else or hearing any other come on up, sir.
Madam Mayor, Council,
My name's Keith Ball. I'm with the board of the Sturgis Museum. We have two other board members here. We're pretty excited about this. The devil's in the details, and like you mentioned, the percentage would be the key. You know, if the percentage is small, let them have it. You know, it's great to have additional sponsors come to the rally. Overall, I've been involved in this rally since 1978, and I've been coming since 1987, and now I'm a resident here, and I love it every day here. But I love what the rally does for Sturgis, for the state of South Dakota, for the region, and for motorcycling. And it's a one-year deal. I mean, give it a shot, you know. But again, the devil's in the details, but thank you for considering it.
Thank you, Mr. Ball.
And Mr. Ball, it is 2 years, but we got 3-year option. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So, yeah, we definitely, like I said, we structured it so, you know, we believe in it. We want to come back every single year, but 2 years, kind of with this setup and structure. And again, I think it allows, like I said, who knows what this grows into year 3, and then maybe, you know, the city wants to change pieces of it to get more piece of the pie or whatever. So I think we want to be fair, and again, we believe in it because that's why we've decided to take on all the risk. So, but again, thank you for everybody being open and giving us a shot to have this race.
Thank you. Okay. Well, if I don't hear any more discussion, I guess we can move on to the next item. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Up next, 11.2 is consideration to approve a resolution which would authorize the mayor to execute payment requests for clean water SRF loan. I believe 11.2 and 11.3 are pretty similar. We got Rick up here to explain.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Correct, what I'm going to give you a staff report on will apply to both 11.2 and 11.3. These resolutions are necessary due to some of the pre-existing contracts and loan documents that we signed with the state. In those documents, it referred to the city manager. Being that we no longer employ a city manager, the state has asked us to execute these resolutions that authorize either the mayor or, in his or her absence, myself to sign these payment requests. What these are as the project moves forward, we authorize and sign off on the amount of work that's done, and then these are the authorizations that we then submit to the state through the course of the project to get reimbursement. If you remember, all of these projects, these SRF loans are 80-20 for the most part. Some of them we have built up to certain dollar amounts, and for example, once we close on those loans, we can start submitting those requisitions for payment on some of the engineering that we've already spent the money for, and we get reimbursed on that. So this is actually just some cleanup due to us no longer employing a city manager and identifying a person that's authorized to execute those payments. These projects, especially the clean water one, goes on into 2025. I believe that the well should be done, the drinking water one will probably be done prior to 2025, but again, just for that continuity, they've asked us to redo these resolutions. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or the public may have.
Questions for Rick? Go ahead, Kevin.
Say, Rick, just to revisit the SRF loans, I mean, we get those monies in a loan, and we make the payments based off of our surcharges that we add on to our water and sewer bills, in this case, water bills.
Correct.
And those funds are kept as enterprise funds and kept separate.
Correct.
Accountingly.
Correct.
And so, please help me remember, we haven't started collecting any surcharges for this project.
We have. We if you remember, and I'm going to draw a blank on the date. The water one, We started collecting that almost a year ago, and the council at the time actually lowered the base rate to offset what that surcharge was, so it was a net zero. And then more recently on the clean water one, which is sewer. Sewer is clean water, drinking water is drinking water. That one actually just started in April. So the first of the month in May was the first bill that anybody saw that surcharge on there. That was $11.10. So those are the two projects that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rick? Any questions from the public? Is there a motion on 11.2?
Bonnie has a.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, Bonnie.
I know you get tired of this, but I read these things word for word. Rick, what is SRF?
State Revolving Loan Fund.
Again, I wish we could develop a glossary of these things. And when it comes to the resolution itself, as I read this, it keeps saying we will be submitting an application, but this is already done, right? We've already done it?
So we've already authorized the paperwork, so this is a resolution that replaces parts of that application, because in the original application, we referred to the city manager. We no longer have a city manager, so we had to designate a new title to be able to authorize those components of that already existing agreement.
Okay, and I get that, but why are we saying it will be prepared and in the event financial assistance is awarded for the project, it's already been awarded, right?
Correct. That this is this is not a resolution that we wrote. This is a resolution that was prepared by the state, and we were asked to authorize it.
Okay, and that was my question, who wrote
And
this?
so it checks all of their boxes to be compliant.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't figure out the perspective, but
Sure.
if it's written by the state, then I see where that's going and where that's coming from. That was I was troubled by the fact that we're going to apply and we might be awarded, and I thought we already had and were.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Is there a motion on 11.2?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Good.
that is a first by Jesse and a second by Nick. Any further discussion? Anything from the public? Okay, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2024-38, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
opposed with a no? Okay, that one passes. On to 11.3, and as Rick said, this is pretty much the same exact thing as 11.2. Those just had to be redone, and the state did prepare those and wanted us to sign those. Is there a motion on 11.3?
A motion to approve.
Second.
First by Tony, second by Mike. Any further discussion on 11.3 from the public? All,
I would just ask, could we get together and you explain the hierarchy here in these state organizations, because that's.
all those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no. Okay, that one passes. Up next, we have 11.4.
Up for consideration, Mayor, is the consideration to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the Department of Transportation. If you remember, council authorized staff to submit application for Transportation Alternative Grant. Usually they're referred to as a TAP grant. This was for the Moose Drive bike path. We were successful and were awarded that grant it was roughly right at $600,000. So now that that we were awarded that. They have submitted the agreement, and we need to authorize that and have council minutes that show that the council authorized you to sign that agreement.
Thank you, Rick. Does anyone have any questions for Rick regarding that TAP grant, which was the bike path?
That's the Moose Drive
Moose
bike
Drive
path,
bike
correct.
path.
It ties in from the existing bike path down on Otter and comes down to the intersection of Dolan Creek and Ballpark.
Thank you. Question, Kevin?
Just more of a comment. That's a significant safety enhancement for that Moose Drive area there, where there isn't a sidewalk or bike path that's contiguous there.
Right. And that amount was $599,828.85.
Rick, where will that go? Will that go from Ballpark?
So that goes to the intersection of there by the underpass on Dolan Creek, and it will go southbound and tie in down past the low water crossing where the existing bike path comes underneath of the interstate. So it goes that whole length of Moose Drive where we don't have any sidewalk now, and it will all be on the east side of Moose Drive until it gets down closer to the very south end, and then it crosses over and ties in with the existing bike path that's there.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the public? Is there a motion on 11.4?
So move.
There's a first by Kevin and a second by Jim to approve the authorization to sign those. Any further discussion from the public? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no. All right.
Thank you.
And that passes. Thank you, Rick. Okay, up next, 11.5, we have discussion. Ordinance 2024-04, which is revising the malt beverage licensing under Title III. And we have Eric here with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city, through statute, the city has significant discretion on kind of managing its malt beverage licenses or just license or alcohol licenses in general. The only exception would be the traditional liquor license has a statutory cap on it based off population. The other licenses are all left to the discretion of the council whether to institute a cap or just leave it uncapped and allowing review based off of the standard criteria of the applicant and the location. Currently, the city has a cap on malt beverage licenses set at 40. And in addition, this council has also created through ordinance an alternative license is the malt beverage restaurant license, and there is no cap based off of that, but there's very specific criteria on how to qualify for that specific type of license. The proposed ordinance revisions removes the 40 cap and in addition consolidates all licenses under one malt beverage license heading to simplify the process and essentially just kind of minimize the amount of work for separating the licenses and various considerations. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone on council have any questions for Eric?
Is there any history why that was ever capped at 40? I mean,
It used to be capped at 9.
I was just curious if there was ever a reason that it was 40, why?
I'm not exactly sure of the history behind it, but logically, putting a cap on it minimizes the number of businesses that are able to sell within the city. So I would assume that the purpose of the cap is to keep the number of businesses selling alcohol within the city at a limited number.
Yes, Mr. Marshall.
One of the other considerations that led to the change in the amount of licenses was the introduction of video lottery. And you had to have at least a malt beverage license to go with your video lottery. So there may have been an impetus at that time to cap not so much the video lottery license, to cap the video lottery licenses present in the city, and not so much the beer licenses, so that the city didn't develop an image of Pottersville, if you would remember from the Christmas movie from years ago.
Thank you. Question, Counselor?
Well, I'm struggling a little bit with adding additional licenses. I mean, where we're at now, we have one license for less than every 180 residents. That includes kids and everything. And with most of these being short-term businesses, I'm not sure what the benefit is. I mean, do we even recover the administrative fees? I mean, is there enough meat on the bone without having the businesses open more often to even consider adding more? I mean, we really, this council hasn't really had a chance to, I mean, this is first pass on this, and it seems like we don't have anybody beating the door down looking for more. We do have a cushion yet of what, one? So maybe it's prudent to delay this decision so we have a better chance of understanding where we're going with this.
Well, and this is just discussion today. I think this came about too because a lot of these businesses are not open year-round, like you mentioned, Councilor Forrester. So if we had someone come into town that wanted to have a full-time business, a year-round business here, and they wanted one of these licenses, now they might not be able to have one, and they're going to be a full-time year-round business here. So that would limit those year-round businesses coming in because there are so many for the not year-round. So that was a consideration. So we could be limiting businesses coming in.
A way to, I hate to complicate things, but if you are a year-round business, we allow X amount of them. If you're not a year-round businesses, we, allow X amount of them.
Generally, under statute, the city is able to review the character requirements of the applicant plus the suitable location. It's kind of a gray area whether or not we could lean towards putting conditions on liquor licenses outside of those two criteria. Temporary business, it really doesn't have a specific fall under the location criteria or the character criteria. It's kind of a separate criteria. And under that, I don't know if the city has the discretion to deny a license based off of the business being temporary in nature.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I know we had the discussion about a liquor license recently about being parked. Are there any of these beer wine licenses that are not operational and they're, quote, parked?
I'm unaware. I'm not entirely sure. I would have to talk to Adam and finance to figure out exactly what the status of all the licenses are.
I would guess that is the case. I think a majority of these are simply use on demand licenses. When the timing's right, the weather's good, and something is going on, they have a license. And I disagree with that many. Do we need 40? Now we're gonna bump the 40 up? It's a lot of beer.
head, do you know roughly how many are a full-time? I did a quick number and I got 28, not knowing for sure which one, but just knowing like Family Dollar, you know, common sense. I got 28 roughly out of the
But those,
42 that are on the list.
but those are not consumption.
No, just on this list here.
I am not entirely sure on what the specific numbers are. I'd have to talk to Adam and finance to really hammer out the details of the specific licenses that are currently out.
Any questions or comments from the public? Anyone from the public want to chime in on this? Come on up, Max.
Thanks. Max Felstead, business owner, Sturgis. I think we just rubber stamped 10 of them. Some pretty interesting ones. I had one when I started business at the new location 6 years ago, or the current owner did, let it lapse, and now you're kind of telling me you're thinking about capping this. Seems odd.
Well, we are capped right now on the
We're
malt
capped.
beverage at 40, so we're
We
looking
just-
to remove that.
I think we
cap.
should add more. You're gonna have more business come. You just rubber stamp T-shirt stores with them and corporate big stores with them. It's an added bonus to any business in this town for 90 days out of the year. Whether they're using them or not doesn't matter. They're gonna pay sales tax on every beer that's sold. That helps the community. And it brings business to town. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Max. Well, with this discussion, we could move forward to a first reading of an ordinance at a next meeting, if that's something that the council would be interested in doing. Come on up, Bonnie.
This is just a little housekeeping, but Eric, this is not numbered correctly. Look at your ordinance itself as opposed to the staff report piece. And the ordinance is numbered 2403. Should it not be numbered 2404?
Prior to initiating these ordinances, I've worked with finance on essentially assigning that number, where if it, like, let's say the council doesn't move forward, then on the books, ordinance 2024-03 just wouldn't kind of be enacted. The goal is to create more uniformity. That way it's easier to tell, okay, what ordinances have been introduced throughout the year of 2024 and which ones have passed, which ones have been denied. That way there's not overlap. And this was one that I was assigned from finance on moving forward. So it will be out of order. I've had this assigned and it's just been tabled and
Well-
kind of really nothing moved forward.
Okay, because what I was seeing was this is saying 03, and this one on filling vacancies is also saying 03.
Yeah, so I probably, this one, I'll have to double check.
Yeah, so it's just housekeeping,
I appreciate that,
yeah.
because I probably just put down the wrong number.
So I'm showing 04 for the malt beverage
Okay.
and 03 for the election one.
Right. I mean,
Yep,
that's what I was coming up with, but I didn't know if I was
yeah. Yep, you're,
saying it right.
thanks for catching.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Say, I don't know, for me personally, I don't know that the specific number of licenses is near as important as the character of the the license holder. You know, that's my personal thought on it. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, I guess I don't see the big reason of capping it, but maybe I'm missing.
I have a question. What do surrounding municipalities and cities do? Do they have caps or?
Vast majority of communities do not have a cap, because actually when the state found out that we do have a cap, they were fairly surprised that we put a limit on these licenses.
Okay, thank you.
And also, as a side note, the criteria, the character of the applicant, plus the kind of suitability of the location, that's all consideration for both initial licensees plus renewals on a yearly basis too. And usually there's not sufficient changes. Well, if there is a significant change, then the council could review those specific criterias. And usually as part of their application process, there's usually kind of a background kind of check into that and things of looking into the background and the suitability. And that's with the cap or without a cap. There would still be that same process going on.
And so this could be as simple as just removing that cap number from our current ordinance, so. All right, well, if there's no further discussion on that, we can move up. Do you have more on that one?
Just a clarification.
Sure.
So we're not talking about moving the 40 up to 50 or 60. We're saying we're going to remove caps.
I mean,
Potentially.
unless council wanted to put a cap, but I mean, personally, I think, like Eric just mentioned, a lot of communities don't have any kind of cap, and that would probably be the safest revision and the easiest revision to do to our current ordinance. But again, it's council's decision.
And in addition, the language of the revisions allows the council to initiate a cap through resolution if it chooses to do so. It would just have to do that before September of every year. So there is some flexibility within council to initiate a cap if it wants to go back and put one in.
Say, Eric, would it be appropriate to, we always have stragglers that don't get their renewals in on time and so on and so forth. Is Title III the proper location to maybe add an administrative fee for people that aren't, they're causing us extra advertising, extra work, if you will?
It's up to the council on how we want to move forward with that. I mean, generally the license is capped through statute, the actual licensing fee at $300, I believe. I'd have to double check the statute. I'm not sure if we can initiate another licensing fee, but if it lapses, then they would essentially, potentially that license could move on. But I mean, I think there might be some issues with putting in an additional administrative fee on top of the licensing fee, because essentially the purpose of the licensing fee is to accrue that administrative time for initiating the license.
Understood, but I mean, we've had cases where renewals have not been turned in on time, and we've had additional workload that goes with that. So is it reasonable at some point, maybe we can't put a fee on it, but can we put a deadline that if you're not in by that, we're going to do the renewals at a certain date, and from then on, it's not a renewal, it's a new license?
Yeah, if the deadline's the deadline, if the council wants finance office to run that hard deadline, and that's what anything after that for renewals, then their license lapse and is not valid moving forward until they reapply and run through the process for approval. So that's
I think
completely
what
within the
Kevin
council's
Forrester is
prerogative.
talking about is making it annual. And if you don't reinstate yours on the date of the annual, it goes to the next year. Is that what you're saying, Kevin?
Well, my understanding of the state law in that case, and please help me, Eric, is that it is annual already, and so we're renewing, and the renewal is at a lower fee than a new license. And
I believe with malt beverage licenses, it's 300 is fixed, whether it's a renewal or a new license. I mean, I'd have to double check that to completely verify, but that's kind of what I believe is the case. Because the city could charge a lower fee for renewals, but the maximum, I believe, is 300. But I think right now we have it set at $300, the max, for both renewals and for new licenses.
And is there just offhand, Eric, without looking through all this, we don't have any kind of date in here for the renewals, like a deadline?
I would have to talk to finance to see on how the renewal process works, whether they renew based off of a year from the date, or if they just, every license runs a certain time frame. I'd have to double check that.
Thanks. Because that might be something that we could put in there, if it all runs on the same date. Or we could even put the date that it has to be, we have to receive their renewal application 60 days or 30 days before their license is set to expire, type of thing. So,
If I may, Madam Mayor,
yes.
when we had the cannabis licenses, those expired on a date certain, and code enforcement made the effort to contact them before the license lapsed and reminded them to renew. I think if we do that for cannabis licenses, we ought to treat the liquor licenses and malt beverage license in a similar fashion.
And is that a matter of just sending out a postcard type of thing that your license is going to expire, please renew?
I do not know how Mr. Smith handled that, but I do remember the discussion about whether it was up to the city to remind license holders that they have an obligation, if they want their license, to get their renewal in.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments on this ordinance? Or revision, possible revision to ordinance?
At some point, not necessarily now, but at some point, this needs to go in front of legal and so we can kind of put a foundation to this. If they're annual and they don't meet their annual deadline, then I personally believe it lapses for that year. They get to reapply next year. Or there's a $500 fee, administrative fee to go with it, something of that nature. You know, you don't show up for the rally, expect to sell beer without doing any legwork before you get here.
That would probably be something we would have to put in the ordinance, is it not, Eric? I'm not sure we could start charging things if we don't include it in that ordinance.
Yeah, I think charging an additional fee on top of the statutory 300 might be problematic. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to do that, but I think the statute is there to prevent us from kind of overcharging on these licenses.
Okay. If there's anything that anyone thinks of that they would like to see added to this, Eric did prepare a revision. If there's something someone doesn't think of right now, you'd like to see added or taken out, can certainly let Eric know.
deadline for sure.
A deadline to get their
Yep.
applications in, and if it's not all the same deadline, like in December 31st type of thing, then maybe we can add some verbiage in there, like 30 to 60 days, maybe 30 days before expiration.
I'll have to reach out to finance just to figure out exactly how the licenses are implemented, just
Sure.
to ensure that how they notice them up, and because from what I recall, I believe they usually will send out a reminder saying, hey, your license is expiring, and I'm not sure exactly if they allow licenses, late submissions, or anything of that sort.
Okay.
Due to the noticing part of it, I mean, the publishing requirement of ordinances, it seems like it's reasonable to bounce this to a discussion again at the June meeting so that we can have the answers on how we can manage those deadlines and those pieces. I know from some time that I worked in the Mead Auditor's office, it was certainly a problem with the stragglers. You know, we had a deadline, we ran it, we published, we did the things, and then all of a sudden there's a few that come, oh shoot, but I guess it was the same people every year that did the same sort of delay. So it does cost us additionally. I mean, we got to advertise again. There's a lot of moving pieces of that. So to me, it seems like it would be good to make sure that we understand what we want in a first reading, rather than have a first reading and then maybe another first reading and end up with the same situation as having the stragglers, extra advertising dollars or publishing dollars, excuse me.
Sounds like we need if possible, some sort of a consequence.
Thank you.
I mean, if there's no consequence, you know, why even have a date? And I don't know what that, you know, what's legal there, whether that's financial, whatever consequence that would be. It'd be nice if there was something, if we could do something.
It puts a burden on finance to get everything moving again, so.
Okay. Well, Eric, I think you'll look into to see if there are things that we can, in fact, do or how that'll all work out. Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to item 11.6. And this is consideration to approve a first reading of ordinance 2024-03. And this was the one authorizing an election to fill council or mayoral vacancy. And Eric is still here with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The ultimate purpose of this ordinance is to expand the council's discretion on how to fill both mayoral and council vacancies using an election rather than an appointment process. There hasn't been any changes from the discussion or version, and it opens the door for both the council to decide on whether they could still appoint or they could hold a special election to fill any sort of vacancies. It's entirely up to the council to decide that process. This just opens up the powers for the council to do that. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Eric? Like you said, there's been no changes since we had not much discussion last meeting. Questions from the public? Come on up, Bonnie.
Excuse me, housekeeping again. This is Title III here. Everywhere else it's Title VII.
I will update that to 7.03.13 in the title, the be it ordained. And within that, there was a 3.03.13 reference to the ordinance, and it should be 7.03.13.
I'm just your light.
I appreciate it.
The other thing that I would say about this ordinance is I don't have any issue with the intended procedure. Are you familiar with this issue? Obfuscation, espouse, elucidation?
Some.
Okay, avoid ambiguity, adopt clarity. In Part B, we've got a 6-line sentence. I mean, it's a Louisa May Alcott wandering that is really, it just loses you in the read. And the second sentence there is over 6 lines long. And I would just really recommend that you take another look at it, and 2 sentences say more than 1 meandering sentence.
I know one of the primary components is we are using as much of state law as we can into this. And I think that's probably where the longer sentences are coming from, is trying to.
But it's ours, and if we don't understand it, it's hard for us to use it. And when you come over here to this next page, you've got like, and the time and place where. A place is where, time is not where. So you either need a time something and a place where, or you need a time and place that. And the whole time through, we're not talking about the office, we're talking about a vacancy. So it's not consistent in the verbiage, in the language. So I just think it's really not ready. It's not clean enough for a first reading. I mean, I'm not talking about things that are substantive, but at the same time, it's kind of, it needs some tweaking.
With that section, what I gather is everything, that's what the publication, the notice should contain, is essentially the stating that a vacancy exists, that a vacancy will filled by a special election, providing the date of the election in the notice, and additionally where, and kind of when the deadline
can
is for
interrupt.
nominating petitions.
But when you,
Sure.
when you refer to the election as a special election, you need to keep calling it a special election, so there's not confusion there. And nominating petitions are being filed for, specifically for the vacancy. So
Bonnie
I'm
and
just
Eric,
offering some-
can we take a pause? I have a counselor with
This is
the,
not a place for an English lesson.
I'm not trying to make it an English lesson, Mike. I'm trying to have us have documentation and ordinances that the man on the street can read and understand what his expectation is.
I guess I got told.
all right. Thank you, Bonnie. I mean, we definitely want this to be clear so that all of us understand what it is that we're passing as an ordinance. So I don't know if anyone on council has any concerns with the way this is written and the clarity, so that they know what they would be passing or not passing. No questions? Since we do have this down as a first reading, I mean, I would certainly entertain a motion if there's a motion with any kind of changes that need to be made that anyone thinks. I would definitely make that clear to include it in your motion.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I like the ordinance. I like that it provided flexibility in the case of where we've been in this year, 2024, where maybe we would have went to an election of a mayor after a resignation. There would have been a possibility that maybe a councilor would have been successful in that. So then we would potentially go to another election. This gives us, because of timing on where we land, it gives us the latitude in order to do the right thing. I mean, if we're shortly before another election, but we've missed the timing and those sorts of things, we can move within it. And with that, I would make a motion to approve the first reading.
Okay, that is a first by Kevin to approve. And a second by Mike. Any further discussion from the public? Okay, I will go ahead and roll call this first reading. Nick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Okay. That passes unanimously. The second reading coming up. All right. And then we removed item 11.7. So that brings us now to executive session. And we do have quite a few items on here. There is anticipated action after executive session. I imagine we'll probably be in executive session at least an hour for those who wanted to stay or come back after.
So what are we gonna do about items 13.2 and 13.3?
Those are the action items after executive session.
That people are gonna stand outside for an hour.
Or maybe go home and come back. I mean, that's why I'm letting everyone know that it's going to be a long executive session. So we will try. So is there a motion to go into exec? That's a first by Jim,
Second.
second by Tony. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those,
Yes.
Those opposed with a no.
No. I've got several hours left at home just to get through today's business. I didn't get done. Okay.
I know Megan because when I coached volleyball, the Sawyer's team, and she,
Okay, it is 10:09 and we are back in regular session.
Didn't know any of that.
We have a couple items left on the agenda. We have, our next item is 13.2, and this is consideration of the proposed co-host agreement with AMA Pro. And that would be for the Sturgis TT event on Sunday, August 11th. There was some discussion earlier about this item and some clarification. Does anyone from council have any questions or comments related to this?
What are we exactly agreeing or disagreeing to?
This would be the co-host agreement that we have in front of us.
No modifications.
And I guess that would depend on if there's a motion to make any modifications to it, but right now we just have this co-host agreement that came in on Friday, I believe. Any questions or comments from the public? Well, is there a motion?
I would move to approve.
Okay, that is a first by Mike and a second by Jim to approve the proposed co-host agreement with AMA Pro. Any further discussion? From the public? All right, I will go ahead and roll call this if you'd like. Oh, good call. Do we have Preston back on the line?
No.
Before I roll call this? If you could. Thank you. We'll pause on this.
We can continue discussion a little bit.
Yeah, if
You know,
there's further discussion.
Yeah. You know, one of the talking items for me is making sure that we completely and fully account for the city's role in this. At the public meeting, it was brought up repeatedly about transparency, and so trying to make sure that we account for that adequately so that our residents feel that we've done due diligence, I think is real important.
Agreed. And I think this has gone differently than the last time.
Is that something
And
we can share with Cameron when you have your post-race meeting? Is that something that we can go on with you on?
What was that, sorry?
During the last deal at the community center.
Yes.
You talked about having a post-race
1000%.
breakdown. Is that
Yes.
something that the city could also piggyback on?
Please,
We could do our
Right.
part with that too?
Yes,
Okay.
please. And I would say too, you know, pending the vote, when you vote, that I think next steps, talk to a lot of folks that will, you know, it's the window's short, 3 months, not only for sponsorship, I'll be on that 24/7, but our operations team and operations plan. Met with Rick this afternoon and going to meet with some others this week before I leave that, you know, now it's all the fine details and there's a lot of details to get in. And as Kevin said, we need to put everything on the table, make sure we understand exactly what roles everybody's doing, what, you know, responsibilities and how everything's going to get done in a short window here. So I would imagine probably not next week, but within the next 2 weeks, American Flat Track is off until June 15th, which is nice. This vote comes when we have 3-week window here that we'd have a trip out here with operations people, track people. I'm sure Dave McGrath, Brian Smith, Bob Dysinger, who's our event manager, runs all of our events, will be out here as well as myself. So we'll come back and, you know, definitely get squared away so we can have a very successful event, if we get the vote,
I think communication's a big thing, all the way across the board, so.
100%, yes.
Cameron, I think we're going to, generally, I think everyone is very much in favor of but part of the issue comes back to the things we don't know, the gray area, and it comes back to a lot of trust.
Right.
On both sides. And so for myself, I would think when it's all done, the meeting that we have, as Tony asked, can we be a part of that?
Yes.
I think that's going to be important to the community as well as, because we've got a 2-year contract. But if we do well in that first year and the second year is even better, I think there's a lot to gain, but for you as well. So
Totally agree.
I think that makes a lot of difference, and that's why I think there's a question. It's got to be a question of trust because we haven't done it yet. So
Correct.
We have to just trust each other that we're going to do it right.
Well, again, I think that's one of the points I keep making, that if we didn't trust in ourselves, we wouldn't definitely risk all paying for all the expense. So we're here and we're all in.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
At least in part, one of the concerns you've voiced, Councilor Dargits, is included in paragraph 6G, final reconciliation and distribution of proceeds. That contemplates a face-to-face sit-down to work through any issues that arise in talking about shared revenue, shared expenses, all of that before those checks are cut. So there is certainly the contemplation of ongoing communication, not just before the event, during the event, and after the event.
100%.
Yes, totally agree.
Lisa,
All right,
any luck with Preston?
Yeah, were we able to get Preston?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we have a first and second on the floor already. First by Mike, second by Jim to go ahead and approve this. So we will roll call. I'll start with Nick.
Yes.
Jim?
Absolutely.
Kevin?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And Tony?
Yes.
Okay. That passes with 7 yeses. All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Looking forward to it.
I think that sends a good message too. I appreciate all y'all's support. And I know that there was, again, a lot of questions, a lot of miscommunication, and I think we got it right this time. And I think it'll be good to put out, releasing information to all of our people and to everybody that it was a unanimous sweep. Everybody's on the same page here, and thank you very much. Let's go racing.
And thank you to your team, like I said earlier, for
Thank
coming back and working through it. So
Thanks.
that meant a lot.
A lot of time you put into it. Thank you.
Paying off.
Worth it, yes. Okay. So then our last item is council confirmation of mayor's appointments to boards and commissions. So there are some changes that need to be made to these. It's what was put out there as part of the agenda packet. The changes would be my mistake on the planning commission. Planning commission is supposed to be Aaron Ravenberg and not Dustin Bostrom. Dustin Bostrom is still finishing up his current term. So Aaron Ravenberg will be on, and Alex Usera. And then Ravenberg, it's Rabenberg or Burg? No, it's a B like boy. Rabenberg. Okay. And then also for the Parks Board, it was listed in the agenda packet. Janessa Dempsey, Charla Smith, and Jason Wilkins. For right now, going to pull Charla Smith. I wasn't able to get a hold of her just to confirm that, so that last appointment will be made here coming up shortly. So as far as those appointments, I'm sorry. Also, that was listed in there, Senior Center will be changed from Nick to Jim. Okay, I believe those are all the changes. Is that right, Lisa? Sorry. And Nick is on MUB. Is that all the changes? Okay. All right. Got Nick on MUB. We got Jim on the Senior Center, Aaron Berg on Planning Commission, and removing Charlotte Smith from Parks. All right. I guess, is there a motion from council? Is that one supposed to be library, Lisa? Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I think that one was not supposed to be there. Okay. Is there any motion from council on those with the changes? That's a first by Jim. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Questions, comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. All right. So we have those boards, and then lastly, for the other ad hoc, if you want to say committees, I'm not going to appoint anyone to rally and events right now. We are going to hold those discussions either in public session or executive session if it's any kind of contracts. But so just for transparency's sake and so that all of council can be involved in some of that, we're just going to see how it works to have discussions either in the public meeting, work sessions, or executive session. And then for infrastructure, that'll meet as needed. That'll be myself, Mike, Tony, and Jesse, and possibly a fifth. And legal and finance will be myself, the president, vice president, and Mike. So, but that is all we have for this meeting. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's a first by Tony and a second by Nick. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no? Okay. We are adjourned at 10:23.